Welcome to the Meredith Show. We have a treat for you. Not only do we have an amazing speaker among us, but a brand new author and life coach, Patti Smith, is joining us today on the Meredith Show. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here, Meredith.
I know that many people will find your journey to your current career fascinating because you started out in fashion. And at a very little age, there were some indicators. Tell us about that.
Yes, when I was little, my mother used to call me fashion plate. I was always worried about what I was wearing, down to the pajama. And,
wow.
When I was little, she pulled out pajamas that I didn't like. So I climbed up on the dresser, and the dresser actually fell on me. And thank God I was okay. But that was to the degree of what kind of a fashion plate I was.
It started very early. I love it. And you had an amazing career that actually spanned from New York to Los Angeles. Tell us about that. What did you do in fashion?
Yes. Well, I grew up in Michigan, and I ended up going to a fashion school in Michigan, and it brought me out to California. I had a job interview, a place to stay a month for free, and $300 cash. And that is how my journey started.
Wow.
And I never looked back.
No pressure. I love that. I love these stories. Okay. And so what did you do in fashion initially?
I worked for manufacturers. I was a manufacturer's rep. So I sold to the buyers. They would come in and I would get to show them the latest fashions for that season. And I loved it. And I was in New York a lot. I was half the time in New York and half the time in LA. And it was a dream come true job.
So much fun. And sometimes we just don't see things coming. And I always call it like the kick in the pants. Unfortunately, that came with some bad medical news about your sister. Tell us about that.
Yes. I lost my sister at 50 years old. And her cancer journey started when she was 41. And, it was going well for her. But, back and forth she was battling. And within 9 years, my sister's cancer became terminal, and life changed as we all knew it. I stopped working, and I became her full-time caregiver, and she passed away 8 months later.
I'm so sorry. I also lost my father to cancer, and I don't wish it on anyone. Mm-hmm. And I know many of us sometimes pause, and grief itself can be paralyzing. For you, you wound up shifting your career. Tell us about that.
Yes, I did. My sister passed away when I was, 46. And the morning I woke up when I was 50 years old, my first thought was, wow, that's how Marie got 50 years. And it hit me like this was it for me. And what I realized was I was fortunate enough to have I call it my second act, that my sister really didn't get to have. And it caused me to really reflect on where I was going. And though I had a good life, I realized that I really stalled in my own evolution because I know we were continue to evolve until our last breath. And I had a daughter, and I thought about the role model I wanted to be for her. And if I had the opportunity to have my second act, I really wanted to go for it and be the role model, because my daughter didn't know my fashion career. She didn't see me doing all those things, and it was just a kick in the pants. And I thought, you know what? I'm fortunate enough to have my second act, I'm going to go for it. And so I think my why was wanting to be a strong role model to my daughter. And, a lot of my friends, when they turned 50, they were like, oh no, I'm 50. And to me, I thought the opposite. I was like, I get to be 50.
Wow. Amazing. So fortunate that you had such a positive attitude through such a difficult time. But we would be remiss if we did not mention that wasn't the only loss that you had in a pretty short span of time. Walk us through the tremendous unexpected loss that you faced once you started to shift.
Yeah. Well, I decided I wanted to go for, I went into the healthcare industry after my sister passed away because I had my perspective changed on everything. And because I was in that world of healthcare as a caregiver, I decided to really shift. So I went from fashion to healthcare. And I did that for about 4.5 years, which eventually led me to personal development, which was such a great fit, I realized, because the other thing I loved doing when I was young was helping people. And another nickname I had was Florence Nightingale. My family.
Be careful what you nickname.
I'm telling you. They used to call me Florence because when I was always on the phone with friends helping them with problems, and then I'd be out the door and they said Florence is on a mission again.
Wow.
So I think
good premonition.
It really hit me full circle. So when I leaned into coaching and I went to get certified, I invested in myself to become a certified life coach. And right when that happened, my mom's health took a sharp turn.
Oh no.
And I was back on a plane and caregiving with my dad and my younger sister. And 3 weeks later, my mom passed away. And it was, even though it was such a sad passing, it just made me feel even stronger about continuing to evolve because I had something to focus on that was positive, and I think it really helped me get through that. But what was tough was 3 weeks after my mom passed away, my niece, who was 20 years old, was killed in a tragic accident.
Oh my goodness.
And it was my brother's only child. And so I was back on a plane, seeing the same family and friends at a funeral.
A different funeral.
And it was very tragic.
Oh.
And I remember it. I mean, I remember thinking, what is this telling me? Why all this tragedy? But I really believe because I had something that was pulling me forward to wanting to continue to evolve and grow, it just made me realize how important time is. And nobody knows anything but the day in front of us. And to not waste any more time making excuses and just to continue to go for it. And I have a funny story. It doesn't start out funny, but when my mom passed away, my dad was devastated. That was the love of his life. My mom was the one she was their social calendar. She was everything. And we really thought my dad was going to die of a broken heart, and my mom passed. She was 82, my dad was 87. And then when my niece passed away 3 weeks later, and it was so tragic, my dad said, I can't even process your mom. I don't even know what to do with this. And maybe 2-3 months later, he calls me one day and he says, Patty, I made a decision. I can either look at 4 walls and wait to die, or I can reinvent myself. And so I've decided to reinvent myself. So
unbelievable.
He really shifted his perspective, and that was just another download for me to really want to continue to go and grow. And my dad's 93 and he's still driving. He lives on his own. He does his own taxes. And, it's about, I feel like
he cooks now, I heard.
He does. And my mom would not believe that, but he taught himself how to cook. He's helping out people at the church, anybody that could use just some companionship. I mean, it just goes to show when people say I'm too old, it really is an excuse, because we are meant to grow and evolve until we take our last breath. And it's about going for something that really ignites you, which leads me to my book.
Speaking of your book, before you go there, I want to say, when life kicks me in the pants as a motivational speaker, my husband and I try, it's hard, especially when it's a deep loss or a health issue, not to fall in the pit of despair. But we always joke, that we're building great material. And this is why I think you're a phenomenal speaker. We have lived through so much in our lives, and it hasn't always been joyous, but it's who we are in the face of adversity, right?
Absolutely.
And now, speaking of adversity, fast forward a little while, you were living through COVID with your teenage daughter at home, and that was really hard on her, which was also hard on you. You were all under the same roof as she was having a hard time. Tell me about that experience.
Yes. In fact, she definitely pushed me to my green growing edge. I will say that. And I think it was obviously
with love. You'll say that.
Yes, with love. But she was home. It was her end of junior year, going to senior year, so that was tough for a lot of people. But having her home, and I was in my office. I was writing my book along with pivoting with my coaching business. And my daughter kept coming in, and having meltdowns. I mean, it was understandable, but I never told her I was writing a book. And finally, one of the days that she came in.
She interrupted you?
Yes, and I just felt like I was just at my green growing edge. And I just said to her, Christina, I'm writing a book. I get that you're upset, but it's really hard to concentrate. And the minute I told her I was writing a book, she said, you're what? And I'm thinking, oh no, now it's out.
It's real.
Now I really have to finish this book because I'm this role model for her.
Yeah.
It made me very accountable. And it really was the kick in the pants that helped me to finish the book through COVID. And I'm glad I did, because I think she sees me. I saw that it changed the way she looked at me. And it's, we can, as parents, we can tell them, do this, do that, or, try to inspire them. But you know what? Especially when they're teenagers and young adults, they don't hear what you say as much as they watch you.
Yes. And I think that's a great time to reveal what came out of it. Let's show everybody your book. It's called What Am I to Do Now?
Yes, simple strategies to navigate the unknown and ignite what's next in your life. And it's all about igniting, because I believe we all have a light in us. And it's, sometimes it just gets diminished because of life and just our experiences in our journey. And so I have a 7-step Ignite You system in here, because a lot of people say, I would love to be ignited. I'd love to go after a dream, but I don't even know where to begin.
Like, starting is the hardest part. Absolutely. So you have them covered.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're just about out of time, but I'd like to tell people at home that not only are you amazing at sharing not only your courage with the world, but you've taken a stand that everybody gets to have their what's next, including your beautiful dad.
Yes.
And anybody out there who's sitting and waiting and wishing and hoping for a dream come true, all you have to do is contact Patti, because that's your specialty. In addition to the book, is helping people with wherever they are in their life with that next, right?
Yes. I call it your what's next evolution, because it's something that you evolve into.
Exactly. And it takes some support. I'm sure you wouldn't be here today without a ton of support from family and friends. And I know somebody out there watching needs a little bit of support, so please don't hesitate to reach out to Patti. And Patti's information is going to be full on the screen here for you to keep. And we hope, if you're watching at home, you grab your cell phone, get connected, and more than anything, we appreciate you watching the show and taking a little time, not only to share the love, but stories of courage and shine like Patti Smith's. Thank you, Patti, for being on the show.
Thank you, Meredith. It was great to be here.
If you liked today's episode, we hope that you'll like us on Facebook and stay connected. You can find us under The Meredith Show there, and on Instagram under The Meredith Show. And if you or somebody you know you think will make a great guest, please email us at meredith@themeredithshow.com, and my team will set up an appointment right away.